This is The Memory of All That, written by GhostySword and read by Lalaspodfics. Summary. When Lan Xichen went back in time, it was easy to plan for Wen Ruohan, the Yin Iron, and even Lan Wangji's chaotic romance. Lan Xichen now faces the most difficult part of his plan, meeting Meng Yao again when the Nie arrive for the guest lectures. As old feelings surge back, can Lan Xichen heal the injustices of the past and find a path to his own happiness? This time, I know all his tricks, Lan Xichen thinks, smiling serenely at the guest students as they settle into the lecture hall for the salutation ceremony. His dimples, his smiles, and his cute eye crinkle things. I will be ready. The Nie arrive last, and Xichen's stomach twists. Here is Nie Huaisong, beginning his second year of study, just as he had in the timeline Xichen had first traveled. Then Huaisong had arrived with his two cousins filling the Nie delegation. The cousins had returned again, Xichen sees, but there's a fourth figure as well. That fourth figure is the only one he cares about. He is shorter than the other three, delicate and refined in his steps. Modestly settling into the desk behind the Nie clan heir, Lan Xichen can see far too little of him. Xichen had known Meng Yao was coming. He had penned the invitations himself, written Meng Yao's name carefully into the guest housing plan, spent hours staring at the ceiling of his own quarters, remembering each of Jingguang Yao's smiles, and trying to sort the most likely true from the most likely false. He had thought himself ready to see Meng Yao again. He drinks on the side of him in tiny sips, casual glances as his gaze sweeps the room. But even that is enough to make his heart twist and yank. He was not ready for Meng Yao's youth. He had forgotten how much lighter Meng Yao's shoulders could look without the burden of Jingguang Yao's secrets. Meng Yao was watching Xichen as well, lingering glances from under his eyelashes, flicking away when Xichen's eyes wander onto him. Lan Xichen had expected that. Jingguang Yao's eyes had always gone first to the most powerful man in it. Lan Xichen cannot make out much of this new Meng Yao, but the sight of Meng Yao in the white of guest disciple robes is enough to send him off balance. He had never seen Meng Yao in white, he realized, nothing more than the mourning sash at his waist after the deaths of Jing Guanshan and Jing Rusong. This kinder white, Xichen's white, is a first victory, that Meng Yao is here to put his quick mind to work as a student among students, not as a servant to escort a wayward boy to class. Lan Xichen arrives, the students rise and bow to him, and the salutation ceremony begins. Lan Xichen lets the first jade of Lan smile, bow, and praise and accept the gifts of the Jing and Jing clan with perfect etiquette. He keeps his eyes from the Nie delegation until Nie Huaisong and Meng Yao step forward. Meng Yao a carefully judged step behind Huaisong. Huaisong announces his clan and then gestures Meng Yao forward with the Nie delegation's gift. Qinghe Nie clan assistant Meng Yao here to present on behalf of Ni Zhongzhu, Meng Yao says in a soft, clear voice that carries so well, and finally Lan Xichen can see him in full and let his eyes linger. He is glad now for the upbringing that taught him to respond to emotions by freezing and smiling. Otherwise, he might lunge forth to draw Meng Yao into a hug, to push him away, to cry and laugh and apologize and yell. Instead, only his heartbeat quickens while he scans Meng Yao for some signs that his interventions have worked. His smile is unchanged. Today he is wearing his most professional, almost lawn-like smile, with a hint of excitement or nerves barely visible in his eyes. Perhaps his face holds less fear than the last time. At the very least, Lan Xichen has heard no one gossiping about Meng Yao's origin. It is hard to tell if it is a change or just Lan Xichen's wishful thinking. Ah! And Meng Yao's elbows rest comfortably and evenly at his side, unafraid to jar a half-healed arm or brush against a broken rib. Lan Xichen feels a rush of pride at that. This Meng Yao was never broken on the steps of Kui Tower. Lan Qiren had attended Jin Zixuan's birthday celebration at Lan Xichen's request, and Jing Guanshan had not dared kick a child down the steps under the gaze of the disapproving Lan. Meng Yao's heart had been broken by his father's rejection, maybe, but not his body. With luck, not his soul. Meng Yao delicately opens the box he holds, revealing a piece of jade carved into birds dancing among swirls of clouds. It is beautiful, the finest gift of the day, but Lan Xichen would much rather look at Meng Yao's small, clever hands cradling it. Qinghe Nie presents a jade brush rest, Meng Yao offers. Grandmaster Lan is known for his mastery of the gentlemanly arts. We hope it will serve him well. May the magpies bring good fortune, and may the elegance of the jade complement the Lan sect's many treasures. Meng Yao's eyes flick up and down Lan Xichen on the last sentence, so quick that anyone else would have missed it. Lan Xichen swallows. I have heard that Ni Zhongzhu has a capable new assistant. Hearing the elegance of your speech today, I see I have heard the truth. Meng Yao startles and smiles like the sun, and Lan Xichen cannot do anything but smile just as broadly in return. Zixin's voice stays steady as he praises the gift, and his hands do not shake as he takes the box from Meng Yao's hands. His eyes lock with Meng Yao's, the two of them close enough that he can smell the cinnamon incense on Meng Yao's robes. Meng Yao never liked floral scents, Zixin remembers. They had reminded him too much of the brothel. Nonetheless, the last time he had stood so close to Jingguang Yao, he had smelled peonies, frankincense, and blood. Their hands touch as Zixin takes the box. It is a scent of cinnamon that keeps Lan Xichen from flinching at the brush of warmth. Meng Yao keeps his bow smooth and his posture elegant, but his eyes crinkle at the corners. Lan Xichen had not, in fact, been ready for the eye crinkle. In his defense, it is even cuter than it was last time. "Thank you, Zewujun," Meng Yao murmurs, and Zixin hopes this brightness is here to stay, a mark of Zixin's intervention. It had been easy to help Meng Yao, astonishingly so. The goal to free Meng Shi from her indenture and cover a comfortable lifestyle had barely made a mark in the law and accounts. The most difficult part of freeing her had been the search for a discreet man who would make the transfer in Zixin's stead. It had been even more straightforward to prepare the Nie for Meng Yao's arrival, to spend Nie Mingjui's time in the cloud recesses, driving home the importance of enforcing the law and prohibition against gossip and against honoring birth over character. It had been almost sickeningly easy, so many points where a small effort could have spared Jingguang Yao so much suffering. Zixin inclines his head, and Meng Yao returns to his seat while Zixin places the box beside his uncle's desk. Lan Xichen smiles, and meditates, and hopes, and fears. After those attending the salute ceremony are dismissed, Lan Xichen drifts to a conversation with his uncle. Caring about teaching rotations is far more difficult than usual. When his uncle's concerns are at last dismissed, he glides out of the lecture hall with all the speed he can manage. There is no reason Meng Yao should be waiting for Lan Xichen this time. He's not leaving the cloud recesses, but... Another lurch of the heart. Meng Yao is there. He had been ostensibly contemplating the rock garden, from a spot with a coincidentally convenient view of the door. He smiles that bright smile again, bustles over to Lan Xichen at an eager pace just short of a run. Lan Xichen's feet pull him towards Meng Yao. "Zewujun, Meng Yao thanks you for your help at the salute ceremony." Meng Yao sweeps himself into a bow, and Lan Xichen's hands catch his wrists before Lan Xichen can even think about the choice. Meng Yao gives another startled smile.
Mengongzi," Lan Xichen says, his mouth suddenly dry. "The salute ceremony is over, and we are of the same generation. There is no need for this great courtesy between us."
Meng Yao straightens, slowly lifting the warmth of his wrists from Zixin's gentle grip. Meng Yao smiles warmly, but there is still a flicker of calculation behind his eyes, wondering what price Zixin's kindness might command. Zixin had not expected otherwise. It is reassuring on some level that Zixin can see it there. He had too often ignored that sharpness in their last life. This time he will pay careful attention to whatever lies below the surface, to nurture the brightest parts, and to heal the darkest before it can fester. "As you suggest," Meng Yao murmurs. "Nonetheless, Zewujun's kindness is no small thing to one like me."
"It is the least you deserve in cloud recesses," Lan Xichen tells him. "Rule 236. Appreciate the good people. Too much of the world only follows that rule for good people who also happen to have wealth or power, so I thought our guest disciples could use an example."
Meng Yao lets out the tiniest laugh, almost a snort. It is inelegant, and by that Lan Xichen is almost certain it is genuine. "I have rarely been called one of the good people," Meng Yao says. "I was taken rather by surprise." He looks up from under his eyelashes, and he is flirting now.
"I am glad I have a year to accustom you to it," Lan Xichen replies, flirting back despite his best efforts. He had resolved quite firmly not to let himself start courting Meng Yao on this first day. Instead, he intended to meditate, observe, and decide what was safe before proceeding. But Meng Yao had always found the cracks in Lan Xichen's plans, so Zixin only feels the slightest twinge of regret as this one crumbles. In another timeline, Meng Yao would bow and leave now, head held low to avoid the gossip of the other cultivators. This time Meng Yao lingers and laughs at Lan Xichen's comment, and Lan Xichen cannot let it end quite yet. "Have you seen much of cloud recesses yet?" Lan Xichen asks Meng Yao.
"Alas, our arrival was delayed by Nigongzi's itinerary. We've had little chance to explore."
"I find myself with some time before I am needed. May I offer you a tour?"
"You may," Meng Yao says with a smile. He hesitates. Zixin can see him calculating how much informality he can safely risk. "I might even accept." Now Lan Xichen laughs. humor and relief, and Meng Yao's mouth drops slightly open for half a second until he remembers to close it again. Next year there will be much for Lan Xichen to manage. The recovery of the Yin Iron, the start of a war, Wangji's fledgling romance. But this year, Lan Xichen can focus all his energy to ensure that Meng Yao knows he is cared for, that he is respected, that he has his choice of homes among the Lan and the Nie. Perhaps it will be enough to keep him free of Jing Guanshan's orbit, to prevent the slow slide into corruption that killed so many. Perhaps it already has been.
Shall we then?
Lan Xichen asked, slowly reaching to take Meng Yao's elbow, leaving him time to move away or refuse. We shall, Meng Yao says without hesitation, and Lan Xichen gently leads him on the path towards the library, the training grounds, the meadow where there will someday be rabbits. Meng Yao's eyes drift briefly to Lan Xichen's hand and then away, and Lan Xichen realizes with a blush that he is fiddling with a small silk pouch at his side that holds a second white lawn ribbon. Lan Xichen allows himself one last squeeze of the silk before he releases it. This year, Meng Yao will learn that he is respected and cared for, no doubt about that, and perhaps, if he wants it still, in this kinder life, he will learn that he is loved. The end. Reader's notes. I absolutely love this story. Meng Yao was one of my problematic faves, and personally, I really love Fix-It AUs where the world is a little kinder to him, and he ends up on a better path. So I hope you all enjoyed this story as much as I did. Please go to archiveofourown.org/works/314-605-37 to leave comments and kudos for the original author. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.